One. All right, welcome back to the Miami Baseball Weekly Show. I'm Gavin Stark. Coach Smiley, thanks for joining us today. First, I want to congratulate you on that big win yesterday in West Lafayette, 5-3 victory over Purdue. You guys get your first Power Four victory of the season. I know you guys were kind of searching for that. So let's start and talk about that first, Coach Smiley. What does that do as you move forward? I mean, we're in April now. It's April 15th as we record this. Later on in that season, what's it do when your team goes on the road on a weekday and picks up a Power Four victory against a Big Ten opponent?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good win. It's a good road win versus a quality opponent, a well-coached opponent. Coach Goss has been doing it for 30 plus years. And Purdue's winning games this year. They're solid. They're sitting right there in the top half of the Big Ten, winning games. And that isn't just any midweek, non-conference game. That was a 3 hour bus trip. We got off the bus, started BP, 5 minutes into BP. We got a lightning bolt, so we had to get off the field. So we really didn't hit on the field. We had to hit in the cages. And then, so we never got used to the field. It's a natural surface. And, before you know it, we were playing. So I thought our guys did a really good job. Our pitchers, coach or Jack Geyser, started. He was throwing backwards, throwing off speed and fastball counts, on fastballs and off speed counts, really keeping them off balance. And that was a team, or is a team, I should say, that's hitting going into the game. I think they're hitting like 305, 306. A good offensive team that can do kind of a versatile team. They're not just a big home run team, but they bunt, they hit and run. And Jack kind of kept himself ahead in the count and allowed them not to play that type of game. And then our defense made plays. They made plays all night. So it was just a good team win. And, you know, it, I think we've talked about it internally a lot when we put a full game together, when we hit, when we play defense and get good pitching, we're honestly as good as anybody out there.
Yeah, and I mean, you talked about pitching right there for a second. Let's talk about the bullpen yesterday. Jake Tedesco, Austin Bergen, and Mark Ioza, they combined for a six and a third, two hits and scoreless that entire time. I mean, your bullpen really steps up there as well. Those midweek games can be tough because you throw so many different arms as well. It's a little bit of a different vibe than those weekend Mid-American Conference games. So how big is that when you see your bullpen go out there and really step up, go two hits and scoreless for six and a third?
No, it's big. I mean, it's big in any game. If it's conference or if it's midweek, you're going to have your bullpen, or where games and series and seasons are won or lost. And those guys did a good job. Jake did a good job coming out of the pen, like you said. He was just kind of playing with fire there. A lot of three ball counts, getting behind, but getting away with it. But we thought the right move was to probably go to Austin. Jake did his job and got him out of there. And then Austin and Mark closed out the final few innings there and did a really good job, gave us a chance to win. We had our chances offensively. I think we left 15 or 16 runners on, stranded them on. We had multiple chances offensively to break that game open. We just couldn't get the big hit. And when you're facing good teams, that the big hit is typically hard to find, because they most of the time they make plays or they make the pitch, and that's what was happening last night. We would get guys on, we would get them in scoring position, and then they would find a way out of that jam. And we were kind of doing the same thing. We got ourselves out of some jams, and I know Jack minimized early. They had bases loaded, nobody out, and only came out of there with 2 runs, which was ultimately the game.
Yeah. So let's jump in and talk about some conference play. You've got five conference uh, series left. You've got an away series where you guys will travel to Toledo this weekend and take on a Toledo team that's right there in the hunt as well. But you guys sit in second right now, and at one point you were 7-5 in the MAC. I believe you were in a big tie for fourth, and then Ball State came to town. You sweep them. And that was after that NIU series, and then you had beat Kent State in a road series as well. But that NIU series to me feels like a big turning point in conference play. Is that really the case? Because after that, it seems like you guys have been guns a-blazing when it comes to conference play.
No, you're right. You're right. That NIU series, first of all, you have to tip your cap to NIU. They did a really good job. They were on it offensively the entire weekend. Any mistake that we made, we seemingly paid for. They punished the mistakes that we made on the mound, a couple plays that we didn't make. Um, so you tip your cap to them, and they have gone on and since that weekend and kind of done really well also. So, but it is a turning point. It was kind of the low that maybe was needed if there's a silver lining, to have a wake up call for us that we're just as good to beat anybody, but we're just bad enough to get beat by anybody on any given day. Um, so since that weekend, we have done better. We still have a long ways to go. And that's the message to the team, that there's a lot of baseball left to be played. The weather's turning, getting some nicer days, some nicer weather. It feels like it's the end of the season, but in all reality, it's not. We've got a lot of baseball left to be played. There's, like you said, Gavin, there's still 5 conference weekends, and it's a 5-way tie for second place right now in the MAC. The tiebreakers, the league itself, there's seemingly a lot of parity throughout the league, which is a little different than the first couple years we were here in the MAC. So there's a lot to shake out, a lot to shake out. So we've got to keep shoring up some weaknesses and keep getting better.
Yeah, I mean, a little over a month away from when you guys will go to Avon and play in that championship tournament, hopefully, as everything turns out that way from here on. But you guys are one of the best hitting teams in the Mid-American Conference once again this season. You guys lead the conference in batting average. Is there any type of approach that you have and the coaching staff has really instilled in these guys? Because, I mean, I think of guys, Evan Applewick at the plate, Tommy Harrison at the plate, Marcus Dirks at the leadoff spot, and then throughout the entire lineup. I mean, yesterday we got some guys really hit well. You look at a guy who comes back from last season and hits really well. And Dominic Krupinski last night, he goes 3 for 5. So these guys throughout the entire lineup really hitting well, seeing the ball really well. What's that kind of approach at the plate for those guys?
Yeah, a couple things on that. One, Coach Truan is our hitting coach, and he does a remarkable job with those hitters. They are down there. They're down there right now as we're talking. They're in there all the time hitting. There's a lot of information given to them. They're able to process that information. Coach Truan is very skilled in how he communicates to them without giving them too much, not being too complicated, but a very good communicator. And what we're trying to do with each individual pitcher, those guys are very prepared, and they do it throughout the week. So it's not by accident that we have a good offense. You said it's one of the better ones in the MAC, and in all honesty, statistically, it's one of the better ones in the country. Because I know we're up there nationally ranked in a lot of those categories as well. And it's not by accident. They don't just roll out of bed and produce offensively. They work at it, and they work at it. The guys that are playing every single day just as much as the guys that are getting very little at bats. Those guys are putting in just as much work, and I think that's why you see week to week it's a different guy. It's not just the same guys every single week. You rewind 2 weeks ago to the Ball State weekend that you referenced, and it was Christopher Roa coming off the bench and having a monster weekend for us. Just last week, it was Jamie Rasmussen, who's hardly had any at bats. He had a really good week of practice, so we plugged him in there, and he had a monster weekend against Ohio. Last night we had guys coming off the bench. Mason Breidenbach had a big double in the, I think it's the 10th inning, 10th or 11th inning, that kind of broke it open there. So it's just everybody. It's not just a one-dimensional, we're just going to hit the ball out of the park. You talked about approach. It's 1 through 9. Those guys are going to take their walks. They're not afraid to go deep in the count because they believe in themselves. They don't just have to ambush early in the count. They'll see pitches, they'll take their walks, they'll get hit by pitches if you come in too far. They're not going to get out of the way. And our on base percentages as a team, I don't know what it is right now, but it was just south of 500 as a team, which is incredible. That means you get a 50-50 shot every time you step in the box to getting on first base. And when you have runners on base, as you know, that leads to runs. So I think just team wide, the approach is just get to first base, take your walks, be mature, and let the guy behind you go to work. So make the guy's job behind you easier, and that's kind of the motto of the group.
And lastly, coach, before we wrap things up, let's say we're moving forward here, April 15th. We're kind of, I would say this is that closing stretch for this next month. So what are some words that you would, tell the team, day to day as we move forward to, finish out this MAC play strong, try to get that MAC regular season title, not share it this year even
Yeah.
individually, and then, head into that championship tournament and ultimately try to get back to a regional.
Yeah, those are certainly the overarching goals, like you said, is to finish in first, to get back to regional. We certainly don't lose sight of that, but I think the day-to-day work and just getting better every single day and trusting in the process of getting better, whether or not it's taking ground balls or your bullpen, side work as a pitcher, your cage work as a hitter, just trusting in the daily work and the process to get better and the overarching and the big picture goals will be there in the end. And our goal is just to play really meaningful games in late May. Get into that tournament. Hopefully, you can get the one or the two seed and have a bye. You get yourself in a position to win that tournament. So
Well,
just
coach.
staying at the grind and making sure.
Well, Coach, I know you got a busy schedule, especially this week. You guys will go on the road to Toledo up next for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series over there, and then you will follow it up with a home game against Melbourne next Tuesday, and then a home series in Mid-American play. You got 5 straight home games after this weekend. I know you're looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that, seeing some more action out of you guys here in Oxford, Ohio. Thanks so much for spending some time with us today and sitting down talking Miami baseball. I really appreciate it. I know you got really busy schedule.
Thank you, Gavin. I
Yeah, of
appreciate it.
course. Thank you.
Bye.
That was head coach Brian Smiley of the Miami men's baseball team here as he sat down with me for a brief moment and talked about some Miami baseball things as we move forward here in the mid parts of April. This team looks to take on Toledo this weekend, looking for another MAC series victory. Can they do so? Thanks so much for listening to the Miami Baseball Weekly here. I've been Gavin Stark saying so long for now. We'll see you next week.